Hi, and welcome to the Fun for Teachers Pop-Up PD. Hello, my name is Nicole Jones, and I am the teacher leader in residence for the Turnaround Office. And I am here with Del Bernardoni, who is the CT Program Director for Fun for Teachers. We welcome you to the special Pop-Up PD presented to you today by the Connecticut State Department of Education Turnaround Office. Today's meeting is recorded and the presentation and tools are available on the CSDE Turnaround Office website under the Professional Learning tab. Pop-Up PD is designed to be quick, timely, and responsive to your needs. This particular Pop-Up PD is an informational session about the Fun for Teachers program. It is our hope that you will share this informational session with your school community. We are very optimistic about the fact that the information reported in this presentation can be another opportunity for teachers to exercise agency and for school leaders to support programs that help teachers feel heard and respected. Ultimately, we anticipate that the content presented in this pop-up PD will work toward not only achieving equity and excellence for all students, but also prepare students to succeed in the global marketplace. Our learning targets for today are to explore information about the Fun for Teachers program and how it might enhance the quality of teaching and learning in your school community, to discover the mission, vision, and goals for the Fun for Teachers Fellowship, and lastly, to understand eligibility requirements and the online application process. Del, thank you so much again for joining me today. I am so excited to discuss the Fun for Teachers program with you and share why this will be a great opportunity for teachers in our state. Let's start with the general overview of the Fun for Teachers program. Can you describe what Fun for Teachers is?
Yes, Fun for Teachers is a fellowship program that inspires teachers to be leaders, to use creativity, to be curious, and to explore through the individual professional learning grant proposal. It is a national program that makes funds available for teachers in all states to determine their own professional learning through a fellowship. Here in Connecticut, we're very fortunate to have significant funding that enables us to select many teachers to access this program.
Wow, that's wonderful. And it's great to know that there is a program like this that supports teachers' desire for professional growth, innovation, and curiosity. With that said, let's discuss the mission and vision of Fun for Teachers.
So the mission is to strengthen instruction by investing in outstanding teachers' self-determined professional growth and development in order to support student success, enrich their own practice, and strengthen their schools and communities. I'd like to stress the phrase of self-determined professional growth. Indeed, the Fun for Teachers Fellowship is to be one that teachers decide on their own that what it is they wish to access to strengthen their teaching skills. The vision is for Fun for Teachers Fellowships to transform instruction and become a national core of empowered and validated educators sought after in their communities and nationally as leaders, innovators, and change makers who make learning relevant and meaningful and empowering for their students, who inspire and lead professional growth of their colleagues, and who collaborate in sharing best practices, collective visioning, and solving shared problems, whose input helps to close the gap between sound policy and best practice.
Thank you, Del. Indeed, it is super important for us to acknowledge the true value in giving teachers access to opportunities that help them create change and discover ways to strengthen instructional practice. Arguably, one of the most interesting aspects of the Fun for Teachers program is the opportunity to become a Fun for Teachers fellow. Can you describe the values and goals of the Fun for Teachers Fellowship?
So the values are to support the growth of excellence, to respect teachers in their profession. That is very important to all of us. To provide the opportunity for teachers to take risks in determining what they would like to learn in a deeper way about their content. To enable teachers to be self-directed life learners, and therefore to be a catalyst for them to work collaboratively with their colleagues and to build in even yet greater empathy for the work that they do with their students. The goals are to serve as problem solvers and innovators who can create solutions to problems of practice, to reflect on their own experiences as a learner and transfer the most powerful aspects of their experience to their students, to integrate their experiences as a fellow into their teaching, to create more globally minded students who are empowered to take action, and to grow as leaders and change makers. In other words, the fellowship is designed to first have teachers get in touch with their creative side and to dream a little about what they would really like to pursue in order to become better in their current role as a teacher. And then to bring that excitement and that newfound experience back to the classroom to really ignite their students with authentic teaching in order to take action in a way that will enhance their school, their community, and in some cases, even people around the globe. We'll talk more about that in a few minutes.
Thank you, Dell. I like how all of these goals and values you describe empower teacher leaders no matter what or where they teach. Additionally, the goals and the values demonstrate that the Fun for Teachers program is invested in the promise to give teachers agency to not only improve personally, but also professionally. So on a similar note, how much has Fun for Teachers invested in educators over the years?
Well, this slide speaks to the National Fund for Teachers program. And as you can see, it is quite remarkable. Fund for Teachers started in the year 2001, so it has been available to teachers on a national basis for about 20 years. And over those 20 years, you can see on the slide that $33.5 million of grants have been awarded to almost 9,000 teachers across America. And they have worked with 27 million students in almost 6,000 schools. The teachers have traveled to 170 different countries on all 7 continents. So it spans from the Arctic to the Antarctic and completely around the globe. Fun for Teachers honors the professionalism and the dedication that teachers value as it impacts their practice. So in Connecticut, nearly 800 teachers have received fellowships from 97 school districts in the last 6 years. Fun for Teachers became actively known and recognized in Connecticut in the 2015-2016 school year. So it already has a great presence in our state, and we would like to make sure that we reach out to teachers in every town and in every district so that they're aware of this remarkable professional learning opportunity.
Indeed, that's quite the investment. Let's review some testimonials. Excuse me.
As you look at the screen, you'll see that our fellows do in fact travel all around the world. And I might add that this happens in the summer. The fellowship does not take place during the school year. nor does your school system have to include any matching grants or any time for you to be away from school for your professional growth. It does in fact take place in the summer. I'll give you a moment to look at this information about these three remarkable fellows. The first one is a teacher who whose fellowship allowed her to engage in authentic learning experiences in South Africa, focusing on apartheid. We then have another teacher who went to New Zealand, as you can see.
Beautiful.
And finally, we have a summary of a gentleman who went to Cuba to learn about other countries in Latin America. So we encourage teachers currently to especially think about the most cogent pieces of professional growth that they would like to expand upon. Some of the recent goals of the teachers have been to travel to places where social emotional development is well enacted in schools and school systems. Some teachers travel to places where they can be in touch with the communities where their students' families originate. For example, there were teachers from Stanford who went as a team to Haiti when a group of Haitian students came into their school in or around the time of the earthquake that took place during the early 2000s. And other teachers choose to go places where they can learn about historical events that have not been necessarily strongly presented in curricular materials. And that might include people who have gone to Rwanda to learn about the genocide there, but then also to learn about the activities that they engage in environmentally to protect the gorillas, the gorilla population, and to bring that back. So teachers go to work with researchers, they visit with, they travel to numerous national parks throughout the country to meet with rangers to find out about environmental issues that they can be more well informed about, and so forth. It's a matter of picking the thing that you would like most to learn about and not believing that it's not possible to do it, but rather to believe that you can design your own growth and get the funding in order to go there and pursue that desire.
Thank you, Del. This is utterly sensational. And excuse me, I probably shouldn't have to ask this question given everything that we've already uncovered. But I think this question would be great to reinforce our purpose here. So why Fund for Teachers?
Well, the Fund for Teachers really is an organization designed to honor people in the profession. The funders understand that there's just so much time that districts have to provide professional growth experiences. And of course, as teachers, that happens in a lot of different ways. It happens in your PLCs and your grade level meetings and your content team meetings. It happens at faculty meetings. It happens during designated PT time in your districts. But in all of those cases, someone else has decided what it is that teachers really need to have to be supported in. And of course, all of that is true. But in order to truly respect what teaching professionals do best, which is know the individuals who sit before them every day and to design work and opportunities for their students to learn in ways that will engage them fully in order to become learners, active learners throughout their profession, their public school, career.
I see. And there seems to be a plethora of advantages that the Fund for Teachers program offers teachers. This program definitely helps teachers understand what they think really matters. Additionally, teacher empowerment seems to be a trend here, and I appreciate that. Let's explore how Fun for Teachers not only empowers teachers, but also ignites teacher leadership. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? How does Fun for Teachers ignite teacher leadership?
Well, teachers are most effective and improve in their practice when they are problem solvers and innovators and take risks and learn and reflect and collaborate. Teachers who pursue Fun for Teachers grants are transformational learning experiences that catalyze these problem-solving experiences for themselves and students, ultimately changing schools and communities. I would like to share with you that the Fun for Teachers, while this agency provides the funding for teachers to pursue their own learning in the summer, it also provides support both before teachers pursue writing their fellowship grant proposal, as well as for many years after they've gone on their fellowship. Let me give you some examples. The website is very robust, and we'll talk about that in just a minute, in helping teachers understand how to begin determining what it is they want to learn about, and then where to go to put together the information to write their proposal. Additionally, once teachers have gone on a fellowship, that gives them, they become a fellow of Fun for Teachers, and that gives them opportunities to do many of the following things: to pursue additional mini grants, if you will, after their fellowship, if they find that they need more experiences or more opportunities to completely enact their goal. It also puts them in touch with other opportunities, such as national board certification. We now support teachers in Connecticut who wish to pursue that by providing them with facilitators. And there are many, many other activities that connect teachers in Connecticut with teachers throughout the country via mentorships, via affinity group conversations, all of which are managed virtually through the central office of Fun for Teachers.
This is great. I am so glad that we had the chance to review not only some amazing testimonials, but explore how this program cultivates teacher leadership. I hope everything we have just discussed truly confirms the promise of this Fun for Teachers program. Now that we've had the chance to explore background information about Fun for Teachers, let's uncover some other important matters, like the eligibility requirements. What are the eligibility requirements exactly?
In order to apply, teachers need to be full-time teachers, from anything from a pre-K classroom up through seniors in high school. They have to assume or expect that they'll be teaching the same grade or content in the following year because their fellowship is directly related to their current teaching opportunities. A teacher has to have had at least 3 years of teaching experience before they can begin before they can receive their fellowship. So teachers who are currently in their 3rd year of teaching, in fact, can apply. And after a teacher receives their first fellowship, they need to wait for 5 years before they can ask for and apply for yet another fellowship. And we can talk a little bit more about that. But I'd like to pause here for a minute and share with you that teachers apply for the fellowship in one of 2 ways primarily. You can apply for the fellowship as an individual, and if you do that, you can apply for as much as $5,000. These grants are considered to be wraparound grants. In other words, the money can be applied to attending a conference and having the conference fees paid for, working with an exemplary person in the field directly and paying for any fees that might be related to that. Also, paying for travel, both ground travel and air travel, paying for housing, whether you're staying in a hotel or staying with a family in another country. Those expenses are paid for, paying for your food. And money is also made available for purchasing some materials that can be used educationally with your students upon return. So it really covers all of the expenses. The second way that teachers can apply is if they apply on a team. And a team can be 2 people or it can be 6 or 7 people, depending on what the choice is. But a team will have $10,000 made available to them upon their request. And sometimes people who are on a team are not classroom teachers per se, but rather people who teach students at least 50% of their time in a supporting role. For example, a team of teachers may decide, classroom teachers may decide to invite the school social worker to be part of their team if that individual works at least 50% of the time with direct instruction individually, in small groups, or in classrooms. Because we know social workers work very closely with classroom teachers in order to support social and emotional learning opportunities. So even though this slide says teacher, we're looking at teacher in a broader term rather than simply a classroom teacher per se, necessarily.
Thank you, Dal, for relaying this information. We appreciate how thorough you are being with the eligibility requirements. Now let's ensure some confidence in our applicants so that they feel comfortable with the process. What steps should teachers take to ensure success with the grant proposal? Additionally, what are the major indicators on the scoring rubric, and what tips should teachers keep in mind when writing the grant proposal?
This next slide is very important because in order to write the grant proposal, teachers need to take the time to sit down and go to the Fund for Teachers website so that they can access the Online Learning Center. The Online Learning Center is very robust and not only describes all of the fellowships that previous grant recipients have gone on, but also gives many, many tips. The application guidelines are very, very specific, and they answer all of the questions that we typically receive from teachers when they attend information sessions, when we are able to do them face-to-face rather than virtually. But it's important for teachers to sit down and take the time to read through the application guidelines step by step by step. The scoring criteria is the rubric that's used for scoring the application as it's been sent in. The scoring is done in 2 levels. The first level is that all the applications that come into the Fund for Teachers National headquarters in Houston are reviewed by staff there, and then they're distributed to former grant recipients all over the country for the first read. And I'll talk more about that in just a minute. Then they come back to the Houston office, and those that are seen favorably by the first readers are sent out in Connecticut to Connecticut fellows and other members of our educational communities in Connecticut for a second read. The reading is done using a rubric. Teachers know all about rubrics. And so it's very important for teachers not only to read the application guidelines, but also to look at the scoring rubric, which is attached to the application guideline. So you know exactly what the readers are going to be looking at and how they're going to be scoring your responses. So one of the things we really encourage all teachers to do is, if you're considering writing a grant application for a Fund for Teachers grant, Talk to other people, talk to your colleagues, talk to members of your family, go online and talk to people that you have communications with on a professional level. Maybe you are a science teacher and you routinely participate in online activities with other science teachers, and tell them all what it is you're planning to try and pursue. You will likely find that somebody else or others will help you to craft what your fellowship should entail. And I'd like to pause for just a minute to give you a great example of that. There was a young lady in Norwalk who was a science teacher in high school, and she wanted to study global warming in the Arctic Circle. She had no idea how to begin to put that grant proposal together. So she went online and she told about 30 people with whom she communicated that that was her plan. And she got back so many responses that she was completely able to put together a fellowship that took her from the United States to Norway, to Greenland, to a research vessel, all the way up into the Arctic Circle, where she could work with scientists and take many, many pictures and videos of glaciers calving and all of the work that they were doing. It was the help of others that made her fellowship possible for her. So I can't stress that enough. And also go online and apply. When you first go online, you're asked to register and to put in some basic information, but make sure that you begin looking at how the application is put together. By the way, the application is due on January 20th by the end of the business day. So you have a little bit of time, a couple of months, in which to put this all together.
Thank you.
So what are the major indicators in the scoring rubric? Well, first, purpose. You really have to connect what you teach and where you teach, your school community, your classroom and your school community needs, to the reason why you want to pursue what it is you are planning to request in your fellowship. Your learning plan talks about where is it you're planning to go and what is it you're planning to do there, and how you are planning to incorporate that learning into your teaching. So the teaching learning growth has to do with how you envision, and in some case you have to make assumptions here, how you envision applying what you believe you will learn about to yourself as a teacher in reimagining the way that you teach with your students. And then identifying what you envision will be a change in student learning outcomes. So maybe in the past, you predominantly taught in ways where the students listened to you as an instructor. And instead, because of the experiences that you have on your fellowship, you're able to have your students really get fully engaged in hands-on learning with authentic issues and experiences in their community. That's a really significant difference in student growth and learning. And finally, you have to put together a budget. I have said to you, an individual teacher can ask for up to $5,000, a team can ask for up to $10,000, but you need to say, this is how much I think I'm going to need for flight, of course, air traffic travel, changes day to day, literally, but you have to come up with an estimated cost and how much you think it will cost for where you're planning to go, how you're planning to eat, who you're planning to meet with, any materials you think you want to bring back with you, and build them all into your budget narrative. Ask for help. Make sure you pay attention to details. Use the rubric as your guide. That's how you will be scored. And be cognizant of your tone. Be positive and energetic in the way that you talk about the passion with which you would like to pursue this particular fellowship. Take the time to sit down and right. And it may require that on a given day or on a few given days, you tell everybody you know, I'm closing the door and I'm going to get this done, or you meet with your team. There are some districts I would like to point out to you where if you ask your school leaders if you can use a professional development day to write the grant proposal, there are some districts that do in fact give permission for you to do that. It's also critically important for you to proofread your work and then to also give your grant proposal draft to some of your friends or colleagues for them to read it over. Make sure that there aren't redundancies in it. Make sure that there is no educational jargon. All of the people who read these grants are educators, but they're not all classroom teachers, and they don't all teach your subject or your content. And so if you have too much jargon, it may be something that is a little confusing to the scorer, and therefore might impact the way that that individual scores your proposal. So again, use the rubric, take your time, be thorough, and have someone else or a few other people read what you believe is the grant as it's getting ready, and make sure that it has energy and flow. So again, the application is due on January 20th, 5 o'clock Central time, because the office is in Houston. That gives you to 6 o'clock on that day, not 6:01. That will be too late. It's highly recommended that you first put your whole proposal in a word processing document. It's easier for you to go in and edit and cut and paste and make sure that everything is worded the way you wish for it to be before you actually insert it into the application itself. Applicants will be notified by email on March 29th of the results of the selection committee's recommendations. If possible, in Connecticut, and those of you who work in schools where there are already teachers who have received fellowships know this to be true. If possible, we actually try to come around to each and every teacher in Connecticut who receives a Fund for Teachers grant and personally congratulate them in front of their students, when possible with their principal, in many cases with their superintendent, so that everyone in the school understands how incredibly dedicated the recipients are as professionals, and how incredibly important it is that they're going to be bringing back enhanced teaching experiences.
This is incredible. Thank you so much, Del, for joining me for this presentation about the Fund for Teachers program. I'd like to extend a special thank you to our listeners for their time and attention. We certainly hope you enjoyed this presentation and feel inspired and prepared to embark this Fund for Teachers journey. Of course, if you have any additional questions or need any additional support, please reach out to Del. Her information is here.
And I might add that if teachers work in a school where other people have had fellowships, people who have Fund for Teachers fellowships are anxious to help other teachers have the same extraordinary experience, not the same experience as theirs, but the same outcome, the excitement that they come back with. So if you have questions, turn to other teachers in your school or your district who have already become Fund for Teachers fellows. But I can't stress enough that my job is to be here to help people get this grant. Mm-hmm. I can be reached through fundforteachers.org. I can be reached by phone. I'm more than happy to take phone calls. Don't feel shy about that. I often do work in the evenings and on weekends, getting back to teachers to answer their questions. And if I don't have the answer, I make sure that I get in communication with people who do, so that we can just help you feel as prepared for writing and submitting your proposal as possible. I'd also like to share with you my personal email address, which is not on the screen, and it is simply D Bernardoni, my last name spelled out all the way, @comcast.net. You can also reach me at my personal email as well. Thank you so much to all of the people from the Turnaround Office who have been supportive of this whole endeavor. And we hope that many teachers in Connecticut will recognize this very, very special opportunity and take advantage of it this year.
Thank you.